No, you don't.
We want Georgia.
Troup, Smooch, and the Dog Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
Dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show. It's the dog show.
Coach Hayes loves this part.
You're listening to the one and only Dog Show. Your hosts, Troup Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
I need your undivided attention real quick.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dog
Got
Show.
him.
With Troup and Smooch. And play it again, Smooch. I'd like to hear what you said there.
I need your undivided attention real quick.
That's Coach Prime
Coach Prime.
letting us know that, hey, look at me.
That's right. He needs your he's had it. He's had my undivided attention since the 80s. Love Coach
Right.
Prime.
A little different now. Welcome, folks, to the Dog Show. We hope you folks have enjoyed what we've been bringing to you. It's been a fun week and really one of our best weeks. And in May talking season, May 2024, and we just had a huge week in terms of interaction and on all across so many different platforms, whether you're talking about Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, or anywhere else. And our downloads have been spectacular.
Yeah.
And just a great week. And we did talk about Coach Prime and those Colorado Buffaloes, but I think we had some great guests on last week. But we want to say thank you again to John Smith with John Tweet Sports and
Coach Hayes.
Chris Hayes with Coach Hayes Huddle. They did a great job last week of just fleshing out just a spectacular show. I just want to tip my glass to you, Smooch, and say, nice one. Cheers, buddy. That was really good. What you drinking tonight?
Cheers, brother. I've got this is basically an old fashioned with a dark cherry, about 4 brown sugar cubes, and some.
4? You like it sweet?
Well, it's enough to last the show, Troop.
Oh, you got more than a half an ounce in.
Indeed. But and some of that Wild Turkey 101, but I found the rye this time. You turned me on to the 101, but I found the 101 rye.
I mean, that Wild Turkey distillery is really good, and we like the rare breed. I know that. I'm drinking a little.
How about
bit
yourself?
A little Larceny barrel proof. That's 124 proof for you folks. A little Demerara sugar cube in there, and it is another wheated bourbon that is spectacular. And we appreciate good whiskey here at the Dog Show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And enjoy celebrating with you folks. And we've got some other Dog Show fans and friends who like good whiskey as well. But it was a good time to celebrate a little bit and enjoy the fruits of our
week, man. Yeah.
I mean, there were several times during the week I needed to take a drink and just take a step back.
Well, I want to say something right there. First of all, if you hate us or if you love us, thank you for this past week. Very simply, we're just now turning the corner where we know what this show is going to be, what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like. And we're just kind of finding our stride. So we're just starting to really put it out there. And so this was one of those weeks where your listening jumps exponentially. You take one of those big steps that if you do this kind of thing, you want to take in terms of listenership. And I didn't count comments this week, but it's in the hundreds. It may be pushing high triple digits in some places. Lots of comments, lots of input, not all of it good. And that's great. I want to say to our new brothers in Texas and our new brothers in Colorado, man, this is what we love this part. That's the part that's fun, is meeting you guys that are just as crazy about your team as we are about ours. And so it's been great. We met some Colorado people, some Texas people, Oklahoma, pretty silent. I'm not sure they know they have a football team until August. And so, but it's been a great week, like you said, Troop. Starting to see traffic in places that we're kind of just starting in, so that was great.
Yeah, so much fun, and it kind of kept us plugged in all week long. Every day we were spending a little bit of time, and to the point that if we weren't responding quickly, we were getting comments like, well, where'd you guys go? You checked out on us. I guess you don't want to. I'm like, yeah, we have other things going on. We have jobs and families, and those things happen as well.
Let me jump in right there. I know we do need to say this. Look, we would love to one day make a living at this. This is not what we do. We each are men that have families. So when we don't respond, it's because we're doing our job. Believe it or not, this is not all we do. And so, what was it? Somebody said, you're just trying to get clicks. It's all about the money for you. I was like, yeah. The first time we see money, you'll be the first to know. But there's no dollar bill in a little frame back behind me.
Not yet. Yeah. So just to preface tonight's show, we are going to say, welcome, Texas, to the discussion, because finally Texas jumped in and we had some discussion with those folks as well. We are so glad. And apparently, Smooch, they want Georgia. They still want Georgia.
We want Georgia!
From the fountain.
That sounds good when you're saying it, but when you're knee deep into the red and black and the Georgia's putting it on you, I don't know if they don't want Georgia quite as much.
Well, the fact that they have to go back, they say, well, you can't say that Georgia's really not into the game this time when we beat you, referencing, what was it? Was it 18? When they lost to Texas in the bowl win? I can't remember. Whatever year it was, doesn't matter, because Georgia fans have moved past that so far. It's not even really in our thing. The fact that Georgia win so long ago meant that much to you and still means that much to you, and how out of the mind of a Georgia fan it is, that should tell you the type of absolute train wreck that is coming to your city. To standing at look, you guys snuck up on Bama. You really did. You snuck up on Alabama.
Which we called it. We called that.
We called it. Hey, you can't. Yeah, we called it right here. We said Jalen Milroe is sleepwalking. We don't know what the deal is with him. We're going to call the Texas win. That's exactly what happened. By the end of the year, Bama would have smoked you guys. By the end of the year, you guys lost a lot. You're just not. Look, we're hoping for a great game. We're hoping we come in there and you guys are so loud, it throws us off a little bit, so it's a close game. But honestly, Georgia's going to come in and win by 2 scores, maybe 3.
And we're also going to talk about the NCAA release, the NCAA football game that you guys are so waiting for information. It looks like July 19th is the release, and they released the cover. And we'll talk about that, and also about, of course, man, we got the DFA is pretty much our bread and butter. And the Colorado fans gave us some great DFA material, and we got a new contributor coming on tonight, and his name is what's his name?
Reginald Von Seiler. He is our international benefactor and dog show historian, but you will meet him this evening.
Reginald is going to help us out with the DFA. And before we move on and talk about Finebaum saying some things, and then, of course, big recruiting weekend as this really kicks off the summer-long recruit, I guess, through June recruiting. And this is a huge one for Georgia. A lot of big-name players coming in for the scavenger hunt. We'll talk about those players.
Hey, Troup, they've got 4 official visits happening during the scavenger hunt. It's Kirby mayhem.
Do they get to participate in the scavenger hunt?
They do. Come on.
Everybody looks forward to that. But anyway, backtracking, and we were just talking about those Texas Longhorns.
Whoo.
And we talked about them. And John Tweet Sports last week kind of talked a little bit more about his expectations. And he said, his words, Texas not back. Texas, even in their big season where they made the playoffs and then got smoked. I mean, it was a touchdown game. They got beat by Washington, and they still lost to their rivals, Oklahoma.
The Oklahoma loss was the one, exactly.
So John said Texas not back yet. He's not a buyer. He's not a believer in Ewers. He's just not that quarterback, despite his ranking. Sometimes when you get that big ranking in high school, it carries you. Yeah, and we're not saying he's not a good, serviceable quarterback, but he's got his flaws and his faults, and maybe hasn't lived up to that ranking just yet. Maybe he will this year, but I said, maybe not.
he had a perfect ranking. You know what I mean? A perfect ranking coming out of high school. Quinn Ewers is one of those guys that can make a throw as good as anybody in the country. Anybody in the country. And there's maybe only 4 or 5 guys that can make throws like that. However, he has not put it together. And it seems as soon as Quinn Ewers starts to gain any sort of footing, there's an injury or there's something else. There just is not that it factor around him like you want out of your quarterback. And then you couple that with the fact that Arch Manning is sitting right behind him, right? It doesn't just human nature. This is not us claiming to have any inside information or anything that you don't have, but human nature tells you if you're a quarterback that struggles with confidence and you're playing in Texas, one of the largest football markets, if not the largest in the world, and the number 1 recruit in the country whose last name is Manning is sitting behind you, there's going to be a little more pressure. And the one thing we do know, Troup Brinson, Arch Manning cannot lead this team to a winning season this year.
No.
So if it's not Quinn, you're in trouble. So you need it to be Quinn, but Quinn is going to be hamstrung by the situation is what I'm saying.
Well, and, Georgia recruited Arch Manning very hard. They were a close second, I believe, to Manning. Mm-hmm. But that whole recruitment, it was fun because of the hype and the Manning name. And he's one of those recruits, almost like a Rayola a little bit, maybe less than to me, that you wanted because of all that hype. Regardless, he was still going to have to come on campus and compete, and he may not win the job.
Right.
I lost faith that he was ever going to fulfill. He may have a good career. But after I watched a lot of his senior high school year, I was like, I don't think Arch is that guy.
No.
And we saw some good wide open passes in the spring game, and I know that kind of got the Texas fans all excited about it. But
the mob, yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not an Arch Manning believer at this point either.
No.
And Ewers, if he's got everything around him, I think he's to me, it's more like a Fromm. If he's got everything around him, he is more than capable of winning your ball games and making enough plays to win. Mm-hmm. And but he's got his best receiver is a transfer, Isaiah Bond. Maybe that works out, but historically, those first year receivers coming into a system don't.
No,
but he may be that guy. They may force feed him the ball.
Well,
I just don't, because you lost A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy,
right?
And but they got a good offensive line coming in, so that we know that's going to help any quarterback and a quarterback who has some experience now. But does he have the weapons and does he have that moxie to lead that team past? What they did this past season. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this, a couple of things that you just hit on. Number one, offensive line at Texas looks amazing, guys. So if you're UTexas 66 or whatever your name was, back off. We know you have a great offensive line. We're not anti-Texas. What I'm saying is Isaiah Bond is not A.D. Mitchell. Okay? You had about the best season you could ever hope to ever have from a transfer wide receiver with A.D. Mitchell coming into Texas last year. That's about as good as you could hope for it to be. It's not going to be that good again. That type of thing takes time. When you look at, Worthy and Mitchell, when you look at losing those guys and then thinking, how are we getting better? You're in a really precarious spot because you're now relying on transfers, things you've got coming up. I just don't think it's there, which means, Troup Brinson, back to your point, it's not about taking the pressure off of Quinn Ewers. It's about putting the pressure on Quinn Ewers. The saving grace is that offensive line, which has NFL talent up and down it. But I think that the expectations are a bit inflated, and I love that about Texas. They'll take anything and run with it. But I just hope Texas is still in the running when Georgia shows up to play, so it's an exciting game.
Well, I hope both of those teams are healthy when Georgia comes to Austin, because you're going to see the difference in Georgia recruiting classes over the past 5 years and longer, really. Mm-hmm. You're going to see how different that is with a Kirby Smart-led team who is motivated to put on a show. I think you'll see the difference in these two teams, and then you'll know. I don't think you'll know until then, Texas fans, what it's like to play on the upper echelon of the SEC against a team who is more than capable of matching you and going a step or two above you. And Texas is kind of new to it. I think we had some of our friends on Twitter who was talking. Was it Bulldog Report or John Tweet Sports? I can't quite remember. They were talking about Texas.
Either one are mandatory follows, by the way. Go ahead.
Definitely. And that 2 years ago, what was Texas, 8-5? It's not like they've been knocking on the door. Right. And Georgia's been right there for years now, and Georgia's been stacking up recruiting classes. So, a good quarterback and a good offensive line would carry you a long way. We got to see if Texas can replenish that defense. They did lose some talent there, and they were very capable defensively last year in a lot of games.
Oh, yes.
And especially up in the middle up front, we'll see if they can replace that. It's not as easy. It's not as easy as they want to make it out to be, just like some teams, like we'll touch on Colorado in a moment. They were saying this transfers come in. Oh, they're going to be USC. We got transfer coming in.
Magic
Colorado,
wand.
we got transfers coming in. Yes, they're going to step right in and be difference makers.
Yeah, and the thing is, Troup, Brinson, you're now in the SEC. Every weakness you have is picked apart. Every deficiency you have is beaten on. Your best players have a target on their back. They get knocked in the head every single week. This is SEC football. This is not this, and I don't care how many ranked teams you played. There's a big difference between a number 16 ranked SEC team and a number 9 ranked non-SEC team. The number 16 SEC team is physical. We go into Auburn, that's a physical game, and those guys can't win anything in the SEC. But it's a physical game because the style of play is different. And that's where I don't think Texas nor the Texas fans have any idea what they're about to deal with. They've got Sarkisian. I love that. But aside from that, it's going to be a rude awakening. And I just hope, like you said, both teams are healthy and viable when that game happens, because it would be spectacular to go into Texas with 2 first-place teams.
Yeah, and we talked about it last week about the schedules, and Texas has an easier road than does Georgia and Oklahoma, some of the teams we talked about. But that's so early in the season when Georgia goes to Austin, and hopefully they're both hitting on all cylinders, and we can see, if Georgia doesn't play a great game or Texas doesn't play a game, execution still has to happen. I think we're going to see what a real Georgia football team is against Texas. I will say that Texas did get a little benefit, and a couple of other teams got some benefits too, as we just had the NCAA. I mean, we've been waiting so long for that release of that video game, NCAA 2025. It's going to be released on July 19th. And folks, we can't wait to get a hold of that game. It's been so long, right? We played.
There might not be a podcast that week. I'm going to go ahead and tell you.
Maybe not. And they did show the cover. A couple of different covers just came out this week. And one of them, both of them had 3 players in the forefront. And you had Ewers. You can understand Ewers kind of being in that limelight.
I get it.
And then you had, who was that Michigan player? Was that the running back?
Donovan Edwards.
And, and of course, Ewers. So, and there was one play. We understand Edwards won a national championship last year. Quinn Ewers is one of the top 3 quarterbacks, looks like, this year. And he's been heralded since he's been in high school. And they made the Final Four last year in Texas. Everybody wants Texas to be back. And so, he's included in there. The player that didn't fit, and not that he's not a really talented player, was Travis Hunter. So him being included seemed to be strategic for the release of that game, right?
Yeah, it seems to be part of the Deion hype machine. Any other player, even if they're as talented as Travis Hunter, he was number one recruit coming out of high school in a lot of people's recruiting boards. Goes to Jacksonville State, right? Ends up at Colorado. He's been a good player. That guy does not end up on the cover of the most sought after and anticipated video game in history without Deion Sanders
not at all
as his coach. And, he has solid numbers as a defender, solid numbers as a receiver. There's just no the superstar quality. You can see it every once in a while, but like you can with everyone else. These are some of the best athletes in the country. This is just it seems to be the Deion hype train pulling off yet another.
It might as well have been Deion Sanders there. It might as well have been Coach Prime, right? Center spotlight. That's where they had him there, center stage, Travis Hunter. It should have been Deion. That's really what they were doing, Coach.
A 4-win coach. Yeah.
Is putting Deion out front, saying, Deion, we got you here on the game. All you Deion fanboys right here. And we know you don't care about Colorado. My wife says don't say Colorado. It's Colorado.
Oh, okay. That's Alaska nerds. Colorado.
So it might as well have been Coach Prime there. We know that they were interchangeable, or really not even interchangeable. Coach Prime is what that program's selling. And Coach Prime's there to get these other players, love him or hate him, he's done enough to get his son in the conversation to be a first-round pick. And he has Travis Hunter, who's an unbelievable talent, but still hasn't accomplished anything, to be on the cover, center stage of one of the most highly anticipated releases in video game history.
I just think, is there a player that has more than 3 interceptions in the NCAA? That's what Travis Hunter had. Is there
who
a player
could compare to him?
Well, let's see. If you look at it, Troup Brinson, it's funny you mentioned that. If you compare Travis Hunter to Dalen Everett, Dalen Everett has more tackles with 29 than Travis Hunter does with 23. Dalen Everett and Travis Hunter are tied in passes defended. Now, let's take those tackle numbers where Dalen Everett was superior and the pass defended numbers where the two of them were tied. One of these happened in the SEC, and one of these happened in the I don't care. And
I don't care 12.
I don't care 12, right. IDC 12.
It's not even a league now.
No, it's not even. It doesn't even exist anymore. It's kind of a group of guys that once were. But so, I mean, you could say, Travis Hunter could be the next Dalen Everett, but Dalen Everett, I bet you, did not get a call to be on the cover of Madden. And so, Madden. Oh my gosh, of NCAA. You know where my mind is. I played them all. Of NCAA. I bet you he didn't get that call. But, no one's doubting the guy's talent, but there's guys like that all over football. You know what the one difference is? They don't have prime time as their coach.
They don't. And for you folks who are not on Twitter that often, you just listen to the podcast because it's great content and it's entertainment for you. The story on Twitter all week has been leaked leaks about what the cover was going to be, who's going to be on the cover. And it's been maybe for more than a week. Who's going to be on the cover? This is that has been shown. And so it's been anticipated because you want that highlight. You want that spotlight on your program. And so George is thinking, we've lost one game in forever and 2 national championships. And you got to put somebody out there for Georgia, either Michael Williams or Carshawn Beck. Put them out there.
It's funny to me that in weeks 4 and 5 last year, Colorado lost more games than Georgia has in 3 years. Yes. Let me say that again. In weeks 4 and 5 last year, Colorado lost Georgia in the last 3 years. In 2 weeks, yet and it's even I'm looking at it right now. Center on the cover. Centerpiece on the cover.
Like I said, might as well been Coach Prime. That's what it was. Might
as well have been Coach Prime himself. And that's exactly what it is. Coach Prime himself right there on the center cover. But you know what? I'm going to buy that game, and I'm going to buy the deluxe edition so I can get it 3 days earlier. So I guess it worked. So.
Well, last week we said this in the podcast and leading up as well that we had been, I guess, baited. Was it baited? Baited a little bit into that Colorado discussion about who is better, Beck or Shedeur.
Yeah, it seemed that the conversation was too silly to even have, and then it kept snowballing, and I was like frustrated with myself for even participating in the conversation.
Yes, but then we said, okay, you guys, if you're going to engage, let's get the engagement. We want to talk. We want to go back and forth and see what you got. And when we released that clip of the Shedeur versus Carson Beck and talked about that, Coach Hayes did that really well and kind of picked that apart. And then that set it off. That set off all the responses and thousands of interactions on Twitter, and mostly, Smooch, not with Colorado fans, with Deion fanboys. I mean, they don't care anything about how many games Colorado wins. They don't care what happens the year after 2025 or 2024. They just love them some Deion. For whatever reason, I don't get it. I guess maybe I do a little bit.
I need your undivided attention real quick.
He said it and they responded. And so when we did that, then we got the interaction we wanted. And we got a couple of guys putting out videos and wanting to talk about or show us the film. We're going to show you some film.
The film.
And the film for you Colorado Coach Prime fans was too long. We didn't read because 3 hours worth of film of you just hyping up your guys and trying. We kind of figured out what was going on there. It was teased so long and it was monetized, right? And you just trying to get, yes, that's what it was all about. And you cherry pick all your film you want. We had, we watched every play of Carson. You didn't need to you didn't tell us anything. We know what we got.
Troop, I watched every Colorado game last year. I've been fascinated with Deion since I was a child. I watched those games, and I've seen Shedeur play. The idea that we have just only watched Shedeur through social media. You'll hear it in a second. Only watch Shedeur through social media. That's just kind of silly. But yeah, the conversation. Even Tennessee fans. There's a few of them that just enjoy having the conversation, but no, the Colorado fans, they were Deion sycophants, I would say. Yes.
So, but before you go any farther, hit that DFA.
So delusion is a fixed false belief that doesn't change in light of conflicting evidence.
Listen to this, Colorado.
From their dream worlds, and they won't go outside and play.
A fixed false belief that is not grounded in reality.
Yes. The most anticipated segment in all of sports.
History.
The Delusional Fan Alert history. Yes. And we know you guys wait for this, and it just kind of falls in our lap every week. We don't force it.
No.
I don't think there's been a more deserving fan base than the Coach Prime fan base for the Delusional Fan. Not since Tennessee.
Right. Who could unseat Tennessee in 2022, Troop? These guys.
Coach Prime's, fanboys. Yes. They do not care if Colorado has a team in 2026. Guaranteed. They don't.
They don't care if they win in 2024. That doesn't matter. Wins don't matter. Stats don't matter. Accomplishments on the field don't matter. It's some other factor that they find on film that we can't quite see. I don't know exactly what it is, but you're going to hear it all later. Things like statistics and achievements. No. We're not talking about those. We're just talking about who's better.
We're going to show you one play. I've seen this so many times. Let's look at this play, one play, and tell me this is a play Carson Beck can make. And this is it's an NFL play. I'm like, I can look at plays that Bo Nix made and think he was the next Arch Manning.
That is a beautiful point. Yeah.
He just got it. Okay, yeah. There we go.
I was thinking about what I was going to say, not the genius of what you had just articulated.
Thank you. But
you're welcome.
So just to help us convey the feeling that we have, and you'll understand it once you start listening. We had to reach back into one of our international benefactors of the dog show.
Yes.
Reginald Von Seiler, and he is now a dog show historian. He asked us, can I handle your DFA this week, and we were ready. We were more than willing.
Yeah, it was touching. One of the things, Troup, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional here, but one of the things when we started doing this is we just wanted to meet Dogs fans from all over, not just the Southeast, but wherever they were, and be that voice. And when Sir Reginald, by the way, if you want to know why he's Sir Reginald, that's a story for another episode. We'll break it down. But he is legitimately a Sir Reginald Von Seiler. And he just said, whatever I can do to help, guys. And this guy's from Manchester, England. He has the most beautiful delivery. He was a theater major in college. And he has spent some time on the stage and screen. We're honored to have him as a fan and lover of this show. And he wanted to help us with the DFA. So he read our negative tweets this week for us, Troup Brinson.
Yeah, we wanted to set that up. That's what I was going to ask you, to set it up and let the fans know exactly what he's reading. This is from the Colorado Coach Prime fanboys responding to our clip on Twitter about Shedeur versus Carson Beck.
This is about a minute and 40 seconds, guys.
You're just talking out the side of your neck. What's the difference? Shedeur is the epitome of winning.
The epitome.
He got them dog eaters on his pod. He didn't want to talk ball with folks that really break it down. They're not built like that. They use social media clips to critique his play, not game film. Backyard football. This tweet is showing, in fact, you don't know ball to real ball players and ones that really know the ins and outs. We are laughing at you. You're putting numbers over film, solidifying you don't know what you're watching and absolutely can't articulate it in football vernacular. Have fun with your podcast, but I'll handle the actual film. I have Stone Cold Film, and I'll take you all check down by check down. You're all watching PFF and box scores, but haven't once brought up any film. Can you please explain what Carson Beck is better than Shedeur at? Don't bring up QBR or completion percentage.
No stats.
Those are easily skewed. Talk to me about their skill sets as a quarterback. Things that they do that are not impacted by the team or players around them.
Sir Reginald, welcome to the Dog Show family, brother. We love you.
Ooh, the most impressive thing that I heard, and I couldn't get past it, was vernacular. That one of those fanboys said the word vernacular, and just I was like, wow, they must be serious. This must be serious.
Yeah, when they say articulate it in football vernacular, I was like, okay, we're going to have to dig deep here, Troup Brinson.
And then after that, every word was a one-syllable word. I'm like, you looked that one up.
Well, after that, yeah, then the insults and the profanity came. If you're going to use vernacular, look, you're winning at that point. Don't back it up with profanity. I don't know. I can't remember if that was him or one of the other guys that had to get personal right after it. But
it was there.
Or could they have all been one person?
Yeah. See, that's what we kind of thought, as there was one main responder or instigator, and he had a couple of his entourage on there, and they seem
very loyal, very loyal.
And some of them only had like 5 to 10 followers. And so we like, is this your burner account? And if it wasn't, it should have been. You're missing out on an opportunity there.
Yes. Great opportunity.
They basically sounded like the same person. And they're all trying to direct traffic.
To what?
The film.
The film.
The film.
You're putting numbers over film, not game film, but I'll handle the actual film. Really break it down. Game film. But haven't once brought up any film. Stone Cold Film.
Yes, that was film said many times. And that was the point we're making. They want you to see the film. And so Smooch even said, release it. Release the clips. This was like 3 or 4 days before. Release it. Kept saying, well, once I put this out there, you guys are going to be embarrassed. Mm-hmm. And so the whole conversation, the whole week was about his film that he was going to put out there. And if we pushed back and said, okay, we know you're going to cherry pick film for your guy, and it's going to be because
Shador's got a great highlight reel. He looks amazing.
It's going to be the best film of Shador and the worst film of Carson Beck.
Right.
And we knew that was coming, and we knew the bias was there. And so you can't say that you can say whatever you want. It was like when you mix a little bit of truth with a lot of lies and you trick some of the people to believe in it. Who does that? Somebody say that's kind of like Satan, right? He makes a little bit of truth with some lies to get you to believe.
There's a famous philosopher that says if you take truth and mix that a perfect lie is one drop of cyanide in a cool glass of water. That's what a perfect lie is.
That's what they were trying to get us to drink last week, and we just were like, no. We've been around long enough to understand what's going on here. And the thing is that Beck's not a perfect quarterback.
No, and Coach Hayes touched on that last week, Troup.
We know that. We know, but he is a better quarterback this year than Shador is going to be for his team. And he's set up to be a better quarterback, and he is coached to be a better quarterback, prepared and practice against better players and a better system. Yes, those factors matter. You can't say, well, if Shador was in Georgia's system, he'd be the best quarterback. Maybe he would be, but that's a hypothetical. He's not. He's never been around athletes like this and practice against a defense like Georgia has or with coaches like Georgia has. He's not. He's never been, and he never will be until maybe at some point he makes the NFL roster.
Possibly.
We knew that. We knew that Beck has flaws, and Beck, we anticipate he's going to play his best football is ahead of him. Mm-hmm. We saw what happened and Scott Fitzgerald brought this so well to point a couple years ago. We were talking about Stetson Bennett, because once Stetson Bennett had that year of starting under his belt, the sky was the limit. He was able to control the offense in his second year. Mm-hmm. He was just the commander of Georgia's offense, and so the nuances of it he mastered. And Carson Beck has immense more talent than Stetson Bennett has, and the coaching staff still there. So we expect him to take that second year leap the way most, not just Stetson, but the way most quarterbacks who are talented in the system like Georgia are going to take with the weapons. And, so their main thing, Smooch was saying, Beck's looking at little film, he's a check down warrior. He's a check down merchant is what they said. Yeah. Meaning he just throws these little 5-yard check downs and outs. And that's what they were leaning on, is that Shador is the guy who can make something happen when everything goes wrong, and Beck just checks downs to his little easy passes, easy receivers.
Yeah, Shador's an improviser. No doubt. If you're talking about improvisation, Shador is the superior
out of necessity.
Out of necessity, because he has no offensive line, right? But the point is, if you're saying that Carson's a check down quarterback, you know what that tells me? You didn't watch a single game past Ball State. That's exactly what it tells me, because the quarterback that made that throw to Rosemy-Jacksaint against Kentucky and the quarterback that made every throw against Ole Miss, you didn't watch that game.
Tennessee, he was just spectacular.
Tennessee, and the thing with the Tennessee game is he didn't have to be spectacular to beat Tennessee. He chose to be spectacular to beat Tennessee, and that was the great thing about that game. A 38-10, and it was just, look, this idea that there might be a challenger to Georgia coming from Knoxville was not going to happen. But I want to tell my good friends in Colorado something, and I want you to listen, because when you start saying you can throw out QBR, you can throw out completion percentage, things we just heard, you can throw out wins and losses, none of that matters. What matters?
You can also throw out numbers against ranked teams. They don't matter either.
Right. Numbers against ranked teams. None of that matters. And so, by the way, you're in a very dangerous spot at that point, because that's what makes a good quarterback. What are you going to rate your quarterback on? Look, the final 4 games of this past season, the Colorado Buffs, they played 3 ranked teams in their final 4 games. Shador's QBR was 49-71 against Arizona, 21 ranked team, 36 against Oregon State, and 34 against UCLA. They only averaged 20 points a game. He was sacked 18 times. The most passing yards he had in any one game was 262. He left the Washington State game with an injury. The offensive line was getting him beat to death. Those aren't numbers where you can tell that someone is going to be excellent. I'm not saying that all those numbers are Shadour's fault. I'm saying that you can't look at those last 4 games and think this guy is as great as Carson Beck, who, by the way, against ranked teams, 51-13 against Kentucky, 30-21 against Mizzou. They always play a hard game. 52-17 Ole Miss. 38-10 Tennessee. 27-24 loss against Bama, and 63-3 against a number 5 ranked Florida State. Carson Beck averaged almost 300 yards in all those games and hardly ever played past midway of the third quarter in those games. Those are the types of things you can look at and say this quarterback can build off of. To say because Shedeur runs a good 40 and because Shedeur made some just beautiful improvisational throws, that means he's going to take the next step into greatness, there's just no evidence for it. Georgia has the evidence everywhere. It's hard to look and not find it. And like I said, Troup, I told the Colorado people this, they didn't believe me. I hope we're wrong about Shedeur. I would love for Shedeur to be in the Heisman running and Colorado to be a top 10 team, because when Deion's popular, it makes everything more fun and it makes everything more competitive. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt Georgia one bit for Shedeur to be great, for Colorado to be a factor. It doesn't hurt Georgia. But when you start talking nonsense and throwing stuff out there and then disregarding real things for hypotheticals, then we're going to call it out. Georgia averaged over 41 points last year, thanks Bulldog Report, against ranked teams.
Almost 42, right, against ranked teams.
Yeah, that's an offense getting it done, and it's not just Carson Beck, but he is the quarterback, and you got to give him some credit there. He made plays when he needed to make, even in his worst game. It's like a worst game against Alabama. He still was very good. He still had a good completion percentage and had over 250 yards. He did his job. But
hey, there's a reason Georgia lost that game to Alabama, but the Bulldogs don't make excuses, and that's the reason you've never heard us go into it. But there's a reason. But Carson Beck was not it. No. Go ahead, Troup. Sorry.
No. And I think the main thing that the coach prime, which kind of bleeds into the coach, the Shedeur Sanders, that's the fanboys. Both they kept saying that if
ifs everywhere.
Shedeur was in the same offense on the same team as Carson Beck is in, then he would have better numbers. He'd be a better quarterback. We don't know that. No. We don't. The evidence hasn't shown us that.
Then why isn't he? Why do he have to go play for his daddy if he could go to Georgia and beat out Carson?
Yeah. Coach Hayes told you the evidence in the footwork and the in the pocket throws and the 3-step, 5-step drop, we don't have it. So it's all hypotheticals based on improvisation, which is not, that's a part of being a quarterback if you have to do it. But again, it's hypotheticals, and it's a silly conversation that we said last week, the conversation you didn't know you needed to talk about, but we got into it and had a lot of fun last week. And I don't think we made believers out of the Coach Prime fanboys, and that's okay because they might have just been one guy anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. They could have just been one person this whole time. The idea that Shedeur Sanders was a 3-star on most people's boards. He was a 4-star on some coming out of high school. But let me explain something to you. Vandegrift, Gunnar Stockton, and Puglisi, that's 2 5-stars and a 4-star. Neither one of them were good enough to beat out Carson Beck either. Otherwise, they'd be playing in his spot right now. Yeah. So this idea that he has some sort of improvisational success and a conference where they don't even play tackle every week, and somehow that equates. No, the starting quarterback at Kentucky this year in the SEC lost his he could not take a step up to the second string quarterback at Georgia. And Carson is beating these guys. And that's what I'm saying. The comparison between the two is really getting silly because one is a viable NFL long-term option. The other is what you would call a flyer. You know, if all of these things fall into place, this guy could be really fun in the NFL. And I agree if all the ifs happen, but Carson has exponentially fewer ifs than Shedeur Sanders.
Yep. And Coach Hayes also pointed out last week that this year we'll give you a better picture, better sample size for both quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And we hope both quarterbacks have great years. Like I said, we really don't have anything against Shedeur.
No. I want
better and being a better quarterback. We don't.
Right. I'm hoping the offensive line. I mean, they brought in some help on the offensive line, but it's only 3 or 4 people. So,
and that doesn't guarantee you anything, Smooch. You could pull somebody off the scrap heap and say we got some more guys coming in.
Right?
Does that mean they're quality, or they're gonna just jump right in there and have chemistry and perform?
No. And you know, I have this conversation with people all the time. Just because you bring a guy that's a former 4-star from another school, there's a reason that school let him leave. That doesn't always mean success because of stars, but if they could put an offensive line out there that could give Shedeur 2 more seconds, we could really get to see what he's capable of.
It'd be a discussion then, wouldn't it?
It would be an actual discussion. Yeah.
And like I said, we'll have more information as this year goes. I don't think the discussion is going to be Shedeur against Carson.
No, it will not.
Midway through the season, or late in the season. I don't think that's going to be on anybody's mind. It may be Milroe, or he may have I think Milroe's got a chance, just like you said with Carson. I don't think he's a great passer, but somebody like Milroe and Quinn Ewers, another year in their systems, has an opportunity to take another step up. And so quarterbacks like that, that's what you're looking at, and they have enough pieces around them and enough coaching around. I don't believe in the coaching staff that Deion's got assembled there. No. I don't believe in the coaching staff that Lincoln Riley has got assembled at USC. They're saying the same things. We got this coach and that coach, and we're like, and John Tweet Sports was hammering USC to the point that on Twitter that they just stopped responding when they were talking about Coach Henderson developed Aaron Donald, and we're like, no. He had 3 Pro Bowls and had 20 sack season before he ever was. You can't say that he's a product of a coach that hadn't even met him until then. So John Tweet Sports, man, we didn't know it, Smooch.
He's got it, man. He's got some juice.
He comes up like just a fact machine, straight lays, hitting you with hard, cold facts. We didn't know, John, that you would get down in the mud with some of these guys, and
he'll get down there with the dog show right in the grit.
Keep doing it. When you got the ammunition, when you got the guns, man, you might as well pull them out. And it's a good job. That was fun to watch this week as well.
It really was.
And but we'll move right along. And like I said, I don't think Colorado's going to be a discussion. We had fun with them this week, Smooch, because it got us motivated and back and forth, and that was fun for a little bit until those guys got a little bit out of hand and couldn't talk football. And then we moved right along and started talking with some other fans.
At some point it stopped being fun because it just got, look, football's fun. If it stops to be fun for you, we don't want to talk to you anymore. I love hearing from crazy fans, but when you're not having fun and you're talking about my family, we're pretty much we can talk to
somebody else. Yeah,
we can talk to somebody else. True, Brinson.
But so another thing that happened as we get towards the last third of our show, Paul Finebaum, who has a way of finding those same type fans with outlandish takes on football, and he pulls them all together and they come on his show. But Finebaum also has some controversial things to say himself, and he was going to tell Georgia fans, calm down. Your expectations are getting a little bit out of hand, and maybe they shouldn't be. You're going to have a big fall if they continue, if you take this stance.
The expectations are just simply out of control. And let's say they don't win this year, and maybe next year things go haywire, and the quarterback gets hurt or somebody leaves, and they have a very pedestrian 9-3 season. then fans start to really get edgy. And then what happens then, let me repeat what we've all watched here over the last 17 years, is that, then the coach goes like, what else do I have to do? I've won 2 national championships. I've won this. I've won that. I was talking to some Clemson people over the weekend at an event, and they're struggling right now. I mean, they played, for 4 national championships in a finite period of time. They were in the playoffs one other time, or maybe 2 other times. And they feel like the world has come undone now, realizing that their coach is a little different than Kirby Smart, and did not adapt well to what Kirby did.
Oh, this is a tag. First of all, let me just say, anyone that has played for multiple national championships has done so in a finite amount of time. That's literally what that means. It's a definable amount of time. Look, the problem I have with Finebaum is he didn't say anything when Alabama expected to win a national championship every year. He didn't say, these Alabama national championship hopes have gotten out of control. You know when the hopes are out of control? When it happens to Georgia. When Saban has a 12-1 year and calls it a rebuilding year.
We had kind of a rebuilding year. So we should have 9 starters back on offense, 9 on defense, but 6 guys go out early for the draft. So that in and of itself creates a few more question marks.
No one had a thing to say about it. There was no Finebaum. Oh, these Alabama fans, this is getting out of control. Here's what it is, Troup Brinson. The desire to protect Saban's legacy that is greater than the desire that Saban himself has to protect his legacy. Saban's not threatened by someone else encroaching upon his legacy, but what these guys need, what Finebaum needs, is for Kirby Smart to be the Dabo Swinney rather than being the next Nick Saban. He cannot handle that. I'll tell you right now, spoiler alert, he's the first Kirby Smart. He's not the next Nick Saban. And he is not, where's my organ music? And he's not the next Dabo Swinney running out of the locker room before his team. Oh, it's all about me. It's all about Dabo.
Let me take this from you, Smooch.
Go for it.
From you. Leave it right there, because they won't. Our rivals, Georgia's rivals, won't Kirby Smart to be the next Dabo, because they know that Dabo is not a threat anymore. They're 2 outliers in this whole college football coaching situation over the last 20 years, and it's Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. And Kirby Smart was a huge part of Nick Saban's legacy.
That's it.
So who else? There's nobody else like Kirby Smart. And if you think there is, then you're kidding yourself. There's nobody else who's proven they can do it like him. He's done it for a number of years now. So Finebaum, some of the same ifs and hypotheticals. If this happens and you guys don't do this, and if a quarterback leaves and a quarterback gets hurt, and Georgia's built for that. Built for it.
They're built for it because they have a coach that adapts and gets stronger. And the one thing that Dabo has proven, he refuses to adapt. You know, we can say whatever we like about the transfer portal. We may have different opinions. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people are neutral. But it is a part of college football. Dabo does not adapt to it, and Kirby does. And that is the difference in those teams. Kirby is adaptable. Kirby is constantly getting better in whatever the system is, and Dabo is constantly longing for the system that gave him those championships when he had Deshaun and Trevor.
Yeah, the generational quarterbacks will go a long way, and if you can back those up, I guess back to back like that, you're going to win a lot of games. And credit, he maneuvered that and worked that system, did a great job. But his time is gone, and there is no comparison between Dabo Swinney and Kirby Smart. And if you're saying that, you are whistling through the graveyard. Not happening. That's not just a Georgia fan. I think honest fans look at those two and know they're built different. So, Paul Finebaum is going to say some things and get people going a bit, and credit to him for doing that. And Georgia fans always have a high standard, always have high expectations, and the expectations are right in line with back-to-back national championship winners.
Yeah,
Why would you expect not to win a national championship?
That's so perfectly said. What is this out of control thing where the best team with the best coach with the best
and the best roster
and the best roster? Like, what should that team expect, Paul?
Come on, Paul.
Come on, Paul.
Oh, but yeah, Georgia is set up to be, I guess, and we looked at some stuff on social media this week, and they were saying, what would you want? Would your choice be? And there were several options, and one of them was, of course, to win their third national championship this coming season, and the other one was for Kirby Smart to coach 20 more years, and other things in there as well. Is if Kirby Smart, and he is an elite coach, he's an elite CEO. That's what he does. He puts he is concerned with being the best, and there's no rock or stone unturned when Kirby Smart is the head of your company.
That's right.
And so if he can be the coach for the next 10, 15, 20 years, Georgia is always going to be in great shape because they can replace whoever they need to replace. They are built that way, whether it be for the roster or the coaching staff. And, Coach Saban was that too. Coach Saban was also 70 plus years old. Mm-hmm. And at some point, there is an end. There's always an end. And you reach the end at some point. And we've been calling it for a couple years, and we saw what was happening with Alabama's program and how that was starting to crumble, and that was fine. It wasn't. It made sense that it was a
natural evolution. Exactly.
It was inevitable, and Alabama's still going to have a good program. And I had a conversation today on Twitter with another fan, and Alabama's not going to be better by losing the greatest of all time, Nick Saban.
No, they're not.
It's not going to make it harder on all those other teams who are competing for a national championship. We said this before.
Right.
And if you can't see that Coach Kirby Smart is that dude and there's nobody else on his level, then that's fine. But, eventually football happens and you cannot deny the truth, right?
He would rather show you than tell you. So prepare to be shown.
So one of the other things that some funny you mentioned that is that so the comparison with, this is a stupid, dumb, ridiculous comparison. Coach
I'm here for it. Yeah,
we're here for it. Coach Prime against Coach Smart, right? And the comment was, well, Kirby Smart apparently, according to one of his players, said, if you don't want to be here, don't be here. We can replace you with two of you. It's okay. If you got to go, you got to go. And Coach Prime, you saw what he would say. He comes on social media and kind of encourages players to go and kind of talks them down just a bit, and is not the most diplomatic coaches. And he puts all that stuff out there on social media. And Kirby just says on social media, Kirby Smart says, happy birthday and go Dogs. That's it.
That's it. That's exactly right. And he tells these players exactly like it is. Like, we want you here. We've offered you. If you don't choose Georgia, don't worry about feeling guilty about it.
We'll help you find a great spot for you.
We'll help you find a great spot. Dion says, you've been on my team, you've played for me, and now you want to transfer for what's best for your family. I'm going to run you down on social media. That's not.
I'm going to allow my players to do the same thing. My leaders to do the same thing.
Right. And then when the number one leader on my team then jumps in and does it, I'm going to take up for him on social media and insult the young man that left. Name a player insulted by Kirby Smart when he left? And we've had some guys leave under really unfortunate circumstances. And Kirby expresses nothing but a desire to love and lead these men. There is such an immaturity there that anyone that possibly, the idea of associating Kirby as a coach and Dion as a coach as though they're even in the same sport it's quite frankly insulting because Kirby develops young men that now that they're in the NFL, they may be a third stringer on some team, and he's going to their weddings, he's meeting their families, all of those things. And then you've got some coaches that are just like, it's all about me. If you can't make me look any better, what in the world do I have to do with you? Why am I even here? And I don't understand. It's heartbreaking that type of thing exists, and that we can even have a conversation that puts Deion Sanders as a coach in the same category or in the same discussion as Kirby Smart as a coach.
Yep, you can't hide the truth. The truth always bears itself out. And, just like I said, that NCAA 2025 or football release, it might as well be Coach Prime in the middle. He's happy with that, and that is a win for him. It's better. It's a better win for him than a win on the football field, because he's always been that kind of marketer. And
that's a great point.
He's always been that, and that's fine. Yeah. He even said that. I think I watched a Netflix special on him, and he was like in I think he was a 10th grader. He invented prime time, and he knew he had to market himself in a way that he has never stopped. He's never stopped. He is a singular talent as a player.
Yes,
folks, he is not a legitimate football coach. I will stand on that hill, and the proof will bear itself out. You can have this conversation in a couple of years, and you won't have any facts to lean on, and that's fine. You can say what you want, you fanboys right now, and you already did on social media. We know why, because you're fanboys of other players that are attached to different teams as they go. We see that. That's not rocket science. Enjoy it, have it. I'm much more happy being a fan of a builder of men and a coach who has the best interest, whether they're with Georgia or whether they're playing with Kentucky or whether they're playing at Florida. It doesn't matter. He is still in their corner, and he'll always be, because he is not challenged and not reduced by a player who doesn't want to be a part of your program.
He's never threatened by one of his own players.
Never. And he does one thing like nobody else does, Smooch. Coach Smart is a recruiter. He is such a great recruiter for his program. Huge.
He's always playing chess, Troup Brinson.
He is. He is a huge. I had to have a huge recruiting weekend coming up this week. The scavenger hunt, at Georgia, and all the incoming or the players coming in, whether they're in for an unofficial or an official visit, they look forward to this. This is one of the most fun weekends to be a recruit coming into Athens. And name some of these players. You got a list of some of the players coming in, some of the high-level recruits coming into Athens this weekend.
Yeah, so scavenger hunt, they go around. They've got all these different assignments and selfies they've got to take and everything. But for me, I mean, if you want to know where my emotions are right now, it's with David Sanders Jr., the number one offensive line prospect in the country. I mean, he's considered, I think, the nation's number 2 overall prospect right now. And he's here for the scavenger hunt. Our Georgia commit from Nashville, Jared Curtis, the quarterback, he's there for this. By the way, a lot of times when these guys get these high rankings, they start to slowly slide down as people know more. Jared Curtis is becoming more ensconced in terms of his place. He's the number 8 overall current player in his class. Zayden Walker, he's a 5-star linebacker. He's in town. And this is a guy, because this is right outside my hometown, Isaiah Gibson from Warner Robins, Georgia. When I grew up in Macon, we played football in Macon. When we played the rivals, we played people from Warner Robins. A lot of military people there, some really tough football guys. He's the number 5 edge in the country, and I believe he is the number 57 overall recruit in. And the thing about Isaiah Gibson, he's one of those guys, Troup Brinson, we've talked about. He's actually a USC commit at the moment, but I'm not sure. There's a few USC commits that I wouldn't be surprised if they flipped. And then one of our favorite players, we were talking about him earlier, number 1 safety in the country, Trey McNutt. He not only is the number 1 safety in the country, if I'm not mistaken, he is the 24th overall player in his class. He's in town. TJ Alford, I don't know a lot about him, a linebacker from the Vero Beach area. He's an Ohio State commit, but he's in town for this. Christian Garrett on defensive line, Mason Short, our commit on the offensive line. We love him, of course. And then you've got the receiver, C.J. Wiley. Get this. C.J. Wiley is ranked as the number 21 receiver in the class he's currently in. Let me tell you something. C.J. Wiley is a top 3 recruit from the last 8 years, period. I don't care what the ratings are or how all that happens. Anyway, he's in town.
You got Blackshear, who just committed, big wide receiver in the state of Georgia. Then you got C.J. Wiley and Travis Smith, both high school receivers from the state of Georgia coming in, both highly rated receivers. And Georgia can get those 3, man, they're set.
Exactly. And the thing about the thing about Blackshear, I'll take an aside for a second. Blackshear, I wrote down, I did a scouting report on him earlier, and I wrote down, my last sentence was, a true dog. If you watch him, he gets so many comps to George Pickens. And that's, of course, incredibly unfair. You can't compare people to George Pickens. But when I watched his film, I understood why. He makes that diving catch look routine, just like Pickens did. His ball skills are natural and fluid and effortless, which is just what Pickens looked like. And he loves, and I mean loves, to block and mix it up. And that's a dog trait. And so if you're going to compare him to Pickens, I would compare him along the lines that he is a dog. And there was a couple of more wide receivers in this weekend in Marcus Harris and Phillip Bell. Phillip Bell, I would tell everybody, I don't know what our chances are of getting him, wide receiver out of California. But if you want a larger Mecole Hardman, for a lack of a better term, that's your guy. Twitched up and ready to roll. But, yeah, that's the weekend. Those guys are on campus. You got Zaire Addison, the offensive lineman, Bo Jackson, the running back out of
running back.
Yeah. Bo Jackson's more of an athlete that's learning football at this point, but out of Ohio, and I don't know how much of that is how much of his recruitment is legitimate for Georgia, but it's going to be fun to have him in. They're all there this weekend.
Yep. So this really kicks off the big summer recruiting, and you should see some moves being made between now and the end of June, and then some commitments into July before some of these players get started with their football teams and that summer practice, getting ready for their season. A lot of them want to go ahead and get it out of the way and make their commitments. And Georgia's going to make a lot of moves in the next few weeks. Expect to hear some news after this weekend and the next few weeks. Like I said, there's some big weeks in June where Georgia just rolls out the red carpet and just shows these guys what it's like to be a Georgia Bulldog, what it's like to be in Athens, all the wonderful things the opportunities and amenities that it is to be for a program that is committed to winning on all levels. Yes. And that's what they'll get to see. They'll get to see a program and an administration that will not leave anything unturned and has the best coaching staff, the best athletes, and the best resources. And that means a lot when you got that. Players see that. You don't have to lie to them. And that's one of the things I've heard recruits talk about Kirby Smart is he will tell you the truth 100%.
Yep.
What your chances are, what your role is going to be, what their prospects of you playing for the program are, and where they see you fitting in. And if that's not good for you, that is quite all right. They're not going to lie to you, and so you show you some fake flash and try to trick you into coming in. And we see other programs do that because they have to.
They have to, right? It's a necessity.
They have to. If they don't have, few teams have what Georgia has that can just lay it out for you and put the cards on the table. And you still say, yeah, that's what I want. That's me. And Georgia's willing to do that and tell you it's not going to be fun all the time, but if you want to win and you come to the University of Georgia, that's always the underlying comments.
Always. And there it is.
But if you want to win, come to the University of Georgia.
Yeah, that's right. I knew he'd have it ready to plug right there.
That's one of my favorites. It reminds me, I think about the line. If you want to know what Georgia Bulldogs football is, think about the linebacker room. Those guys, it is one freak. We had a guy from a Bama guy on this week. Fantastic conversationalist. We had some really good back and forth. I believe it was on our YouTube. And he was talking about the loss of Dumas Johnson and how that would hurt the Dogs. And I said, well, first of all, quality leader, DGD, you never like to lose those guys, but you have to understand he didn't leave because he knew he was going to be starting the next year. Mm-hmm. I mean, no one does. No one leaves Georgia when they know they're the number one guy the next year. That's the kind of talent that Georgia has stacked up in that linebacker room. And it seems to be getting even more stacked as they go. That this idea that you're going to go into a Thunderdome, if you will, with the most talented people in the world in your position, and you have a chance of coming out and being one of those contributors. And that is enticing. With Kirby's honesty and ability to develop, that is enticing to the elite of the elite, Troup Brinson.
And that's what you find. Those guys who are looking to do that, looking to push themselves to a level they've never been to, and they have complete confidence, they pick Georgia. And that's evaluation and also honesty from the coaching staff and building that relationship built the right way on a firm foundation, not promised with sunshine and waves and apartments and all those niceties like that.
Townhouse.
We're going to kick your butt for the next 3 or 4 years.
There you go.
You're going to come out on the other side of that best possible version of yourself. Smooch, has been a great show. I wish we'd have led with because we want to show our fans where to find our product, and we're slowly but surely developing our YouTube page.
Yeah.
We'll put that out there for our people on social media to kind of direct them to that. So if you want to see the video of our beautiful faces and
come on,
also the little extra information we put up on the screen, not just the audio. We want to suggest that you recommend that you check out our YouTube page. That's at The Dog Show Pod. Mm-hmm. Everywhere you can find us on The Dog Show Pod. Check us out on YouTube. We're trying to develop it. We want more comments on there, and it's slowly, surely getting there. And it's just another avenue for you to enjoy what we're doing, and with this a little bit more content than just, like we said, just the audio, what you're listening to right now.
Yeah, and, for us, we're Gen Xers, and so the YouTube thing wasn't even our consideration until the last few months. And then in the last few months, those numbers have started to catch up. So we've started to put out a product that looks more like what we want. So we're finding our feet with the video, with the YouTube, with the cuts, the B-roll, the videos, all that. And so if you want a good deal more in depth in the podcast, go to our YouTube. And like Troup said, at The Dog Show Pod, that's our link tree. YouTube, it's very easy to find The Dog Show with Troup and Smooch. Any of those things will take you right to us. But the great thing about YouTube that we've seen as well is long, detailed comments and debates. Those types of things have been great. Join us there. Hey, when you hear from somebody from this show, it's either me or Troup. Nobody else works for this show. So we answer.
Except for Sir Reginald.
Well, yes. Sir Reginald von Seiler is now working, but unless you're dealing with Manchester, England, you're probably not coming up with him. But we respond to every single comment as best we can. So there we are.
I think it's a surprise sometimes, because I can understand it, that when you respond to us and they, it's either me or Smooch, and it may be both of us from back to back. We're on the same account. We're on the same account. So so be aware of that. And it's okay if it's kind of confusing sometimes. It's still, we kind of, Smooch think alike anyway. We're kind of just one person. So
there you go.
Respond quicker. But if we combine forces, we're one solid person.
One complete man, yes.
Thank you so much, folks. And again, check us out on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and any platform. We appreciate you so much. Give us a 5-star review and let us know what you think about us. And we'll be back in a few days. And I say a few days. We're going to be on social media tonight, tomorrow, every day. Join us.
Absolutely.
Join in the fun.
Join in.
Give us, and give us a suggestion. Tell us what you want to see, what you want to hear.
Yeah, come on.
And get involved. We love it so much. That's why we do it. Talking season. And just a couple short months before we kick off a new championship season with the Georgia Bulldogs. Smooch, let's wrap this puppy up.
Let's do it.
You're putting numbers over film, not game film, but I'll handle the actual film. Really break it down. Game film. But haven't once brought up any film. Stone cold film.
This is the Dog Show with Troup and Smooch.
Woo! Reggie. We are hilarious.
Really break it down.
To critique. They use social media to critique.